Okay, and we're on. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wall Street Reporter's next Superstock live stream for today, April 17th, 2020. We're very proud to bring you a very special presentation from CytoDyn. CytoDyn, as many of you have been following since August, the stock has done tremendously. The company has reported incredible progress, and obviously there's a very topical presentation for today. As you know, the stock is up significantly, and with CytoDyn's impressive pipeline, this could be just the beginning. So today we have a lot of people on the call, so I'm going to skip my usual remarks. We'll get right to it. The format for today is simple. Nader Pourhassan, CEO of CytoDyn, is going to speak. Then we're going to engage in a panel discussion with Dr. Bruce and Jay, and then we'll open up for a Q&A. Hopefully we'll have time to answer the questions. We've got about 70 questions. I don't know if we'll have time, but with that being said, everybody, please welcome Dr. Pourhassan. Nader, take it away.
Thank you, Jack, and thanks everyone for being on this call. I'm not going to do the usual presentation of talking about what is leronlimab. I'm hoping everybody on the call knows about leronlimab. It's a humanized monoclonal antibody, and it has been used in many different indications it has been in clinical trials for many indications. Today's presentation will have many forward-looking statements, and as most people are aware of this slide, we are about to file BLA, Biologic License Application, for final approval for combination therapy. We've been saying that a lot, but people are getting very tired of hearing that. However, with coronavirus coming into the play, and we put a lot of resources at the time of all of our team members in that delayed it, but we are very close to that time. A monotherapy trial, again, that's something that always was going on, and we will get to that. In regards to cancer trials, they're going forward, but again, as I explained, the cancer trials, we can't get blood sample from some of these patients. They do get product at home to inject themselves and continue with the trial, but they just can't come into the lab to get the results of the blood samples for us. But the results that we have so far, whoever we were able to get, has gone very well. My own family member is doing very well. Graft versus host disease, one patient was injected. The other patients that are coming in, we will get an update on that. In regards to the most important indication, coronavirus. Why did we get involved in this coronavirus trial? I want to make sure everybody understands that Dr. Bruce Patterson on the call right now and Dr. Jacob Lalezari with me, and I'm honored to have them on this call. Dr. Bruce Patterson is a former Stanford University professor, and he was the head of virology, and is a CEO of IncelDx. Now, IncelDx is a diagnostic company. All of these tests that we have been doing is the work of Dr. Bruce Patterson. Without that result, and without his guidance at the beginning that coronavirus should be something we move on, we wouldn't be doing anything with coronavirus. As he guided us that you need to go that path, we listened to it. As we listened to him when he talked about the cancer indications, that you got to go in that direction in a different way. Your enrollment is taking a year. You're not getting anybody because of this and that. And we listened again. The shareholders saw what happened. Immediately, the results of enrollment. But in coronavirus, I want to make sure that we explain this very carefully, and you, all the whoever is on the call can ask questions when it comes to Q&A from the two doctors that are on the call. But we have three things going on in coronavirus. One is phase 2. That phase 2 is a randomized placebo-controlled trial for 75 patients. We get the primary endpoint results after 2 weeks. We have about 15 patients enrolled, as we said that in the last time we talked to everyone in the press release. And we are enrolling sites. We have about 4 sites ready to go right now. It takes a lot of time. It takes a month or 2 to get a site ready, then ready to go. And we should have a few more sites even enrolled. Our clinical operation vice president, head of all of our trial at Amarex, Dr. Kushdori, has told me this morning that I don't see how you cannot enroll everybody within 2 weeks or maximum 3 weeks. He's very optimistic about the enrollment process, the way it's going to go forward. He's the person who enrolled all of our trial for monotherapy, combination therapy, so he has a lot of experience with this product. As soon as we get these 75 patients enrolled, 2 weeks later, we will submit the final results to the FDA. In regards to another clinical trial, phase 3, which is called phase 2B-3, again, double-blinded. Everybody is making a lot of issue about why is it double-blinded. People are going to get hurt, and a lot of different issues they bring it to us. This double-blinding, the patients is still going to get oxygen. The patient still gets to go to ICU. The patient is going to get whatever they were getting if they were not double-blinded. And if they get on any kind of drug, then that's different. And a lot of people that come in, they don't need to get on the drug. They just need oxygen. They need ventilator. That's what's going to happen for the placebo as well as the control. So this is something different than what is been doing in patients. If they choose to get off of the trial for some reason, they can and take other drugs also. That trial, we have 3 patients enrolled. Again, all the trials that we have, both of them, of all the sites, they get involved in both trials. And then we have emergency IND. And you saw the videos of the patients who were doing as they were doing very well. They came to the interviews, and we saw what happened with what they're saying is happening. We do have some patients right now that were severe. They got off the oxygen. They got discharged. There's a lot of things happening here, but there are papers that needs to be published, and we need to be careful about the data. So please don't make assumption that because we're not giving you all the results very clearly, is because we need to have the papers to be published with certain people, and they have the right to those things. But with all of that, I want to ask Dr. Bruce Patterson first to explain to us what has he seen, and then we'll go to Dr. Jacob Lalezari on the emergency IND, what the data that has come out. Could you please, Dr. Patterson, explain what have you been seeing? What is the process that's going on right now? And what is your take of all these data that you're seeing? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nader, and it's a pleasure to be here. You know, what really strikes me about COVID disease is it's a spectrum of disease. There's patients with mild to no symptoms, and then there's critically ill patients with significant comorbidities like renal failure and liver abnormalities. And that's what we're dealing with. And I think the most important thing about leronlimab is we're seeing a multitude of effects. COVID is not an IL-6 disease. It's not an IL-8 disease. It's not a GM-CSF disease. It's a composite of a lot of these factors going on at one time. And what's been so impressive about leronlimab is it's been quieting this so-called cytokine storm that consists of IL-6, IL-8, TNF-alpha, and a lot of other chemicals that are causing damage to the lungs. But what's most relevant is we're seeing profound immunodeficiencies in these patients with significantly low cytotoxic T cells, which are responsible for fighting off virally infected cells and cancer for that matter. And leronlimab is doing 2 things. It's restoring these immune cells in immune homeostasis while also quieting the cytokine storm, which is really remarkable, I think, for a single drug.
No, thank you very much, Bruce. So in regards to Dr. Jacob Lalezari's experience, Jake, would you like to say a few words of what you have seen and what is your take?
Sure. I'd like to be clear that I'm your chief science officer, but I have no stock in Cytodine, so I'm going to be free to offer my opinion. Obviously, I have a bias, and the same bias as everybody else, that we're living under this horror. But my, potentially biased opinion is that both the world and Cytodine got incredibly lucky here. That when there's a full disclosure of all of the data that we have, the world will understand that CytoDyn picked absolutely the right target, and that the results that Bruce just described, where you see day 3 recovery of immune homeostasis or movement toward recovery, day 3 reductions in IL-6 and other cytokines following a single subcutaneous dose of drug, a drug that we've given to 800 patients and know to be safe, is an incredible story. And my biased view is I don't think antivirals are going to significantly impact the outcome in this illness unless they're taken very early or to prevent infection in the first place. And I think all of the other immunomodulators are barking up the wrong tree. So I think that this is going to be a fantastic story, biased though that opinion might be.
No, thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it. So with that, I would like to go to some of the questions that everybody have been asking, and I'm going to read the questions and either ask Dr. Patterson, Dr. Jay, Lalezari, or myself. First question says that of all the COVID-19 patients who have received leronlimab, how many, if any, have not improved their condition after 7 days? So again, when we talk about results, we have double-blind study, both of them, so we don't have any results. The only results that we get is anecdotal emergency IND patients, and I cannot go through the results of each hospital, but I can tell you at one of the hospitals, from 11 patients, 3 were critically severe patients, the other 8 were moderate, well, we call it severe according to FDA's definition. From those 8, we have seen 6 improve greatly. Some of them got discharged, as we talk in the press release. 2 we haven't seen improvement yet, and the other 3 that was critically severe, 2 of them extubated, and 1 of them, as of yesterday, was only on the ventilator for 30%. So that's the kind of result we're seeing from the sites. Now we have to wait a little bit to have the published data come out, so the shareholder can get the maximum benefit of the publicity and the credibility in the scientific community when it's published by Dr. Patterson and other folks. The next question says, why is leronlimab not listed as a fast track on the FDA website? I have no idea, but we do have fast track designation for HIV. Every time we communicate with FDA for our HIV, we say fast track on the top of the letters, and we also have fast track designation for our cancer. When we say these things in press release, these are monitored by our legal team, by FDA, by SEC. So everything we say in the public is 100% gone through the right procedures to get there. Could you provide an update on the existing cancer patients on our trials with the PA applied to combo? So cancer patients, again, we had everybody that we got the results of the biomarker CTC, circulating tumor cells. We saw great results with all of those, but we need to see progression-free perhaps after 6 months, a year, and we're working on those. But Bruce, would you like to add anything about the cancer?
Well, again, I think we haven't been able to get the patients in to draw the particular labs, but all of these patients are improving. We see shrinkage of both the tumor, reduction of CTCs to 0, reduction of metastases size and number. So I think everything's as we've published previously in press releases. And we're still enrolling patients in the various trials for cancer. So that hasn't slowed down. In fact, I just got 2 more additional samples today. So it's ongoing, and we're very encouraged. And of course, we'll report the results when we can get the data.
And Dr. Lalezari has been enrolling the first patient in the basket trial just recently. Jay, would you like to say anything about your cancer patients?
Sure. And then I want to go back to the last question for a second.
Sure.
It's difficult in the middle of a COVID crisis with all the travel restrictions And we've had patients and women with breast cancer reaching out to us from all over the world. We've got several women enrolled from Europe and Canada, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, in part because our first patient did so exceptionally well, and she broadcast that on Facebook. But we're also attracting people with very end-stage disease, so it's difficult. But the bottom line is that in the patients that we've been able to get results, both in terms of measuring tumor size and certainly measuring the CTCs, it seems like everybody's going to zero. So we're very encouraged by that, even though the data in the end is going to be confounded by what COVID-19 did to us. So in the meantime, we're continuing to enroll. We enrolled our first patient in CD09. There's tremendous interest out there. And as Bruce and Nader have said, there are signals, early signals of positive benefit, which is super exciting.
No, thank you.
And I just want to address the last question, Nader.
Yeah,
I think it's a source of frustration to us as well. JAMA published a paper 2 or 3 days ago listing all the potential COVID-19 treatments, and leronlimab wasn't even listed.
Yes.
I think the world has missed this. I think from the get-go, FDA did not understand why Bruce's idea of using leronlimab in this setting was brilliant. And it's taken us many weeks and a couple months to get FDA caught up as to why this makes sense. And when the full data set of Bruce's work is published, the entire world will understand why this makes sense. But in the meantime, our job at Cytodyne has been to try to raise awareness of not only leronlimab and why it makes sense, but the early clinical results, which I think have been pretty spectacular. And it is a bizarre thing at this moment that leronlimab isn't higher on the list of the conversation. I think basically Gilead and remdesivir has dominated the conversation. And I think as some of these other experimental therapies begin to fall off, because an antiviral drug ain't going to do it here, there will be more room, more oxygen in the room, and I think Cytodyne is going to get a lot more exposure. But you're going to have to be patient.
Yeah. No, thank you, Jay, for that. So the next question is, Cytodyne on February 12th announced testing in China of leronlimab of COVID-19 patients. What happened? We never announced that we tested anybody in China. We were in talk with a company called Longjin, and as we got other companies involved, as we moved to the different companies, and there are 2 companies in China right now that are very close to making some term sheets, some non-binding term sheet presentation to us. We're very happy with those 2. We're going forward. We also talk about Taiwan. We didn't move forward on that either. We need to have everything set the right way for us to benefit our shareholders before we do. But I do have something to add to that, and that is, as of this morning, our CRO told me that all of our data for United Kingdom is ready to move forward, and they have been told that there is a special program that we can get in front of the Chief Medical Officer of United Kingdom with our data and protocol, and we will be doing that starting today. So hopefully by Monday they will have everything, and by next week it will be in front of the Chief Medical Officer of United Kingdom, and they are giving approval, some limited approval for the product, and Amarex indicated to me that we have a very good chance of that because our data is very nice. So we could have some very nice, pleasantly surprised next week from United Kingdom. We don't know, but that's where we are so far. As always, I will let everybody know where we are. Some things may pan out to become perfect, some may not come through at all. So please make sure you realize that. Next question is there any interest from the big pharmaceutical companies? I don't have the names to give anybody at this time because the names are always confidential, but we were told that there was interest from certain folks. They wanted to do a study of leronlimab and remdesivir, but we're not going to be moving on that yet till we get our own trial finished, which is 75 patients that we are having right now. That's our priority. Next question is, what is the difference in mechanism of action between leronlimab and IL-6 inhibitor Actemra? Any federal grants coming to? So let me have that question go to Dr. Patterson. Bruce, could you please?
Yeah, that's a common question, and like I said, this is not an IL-6 disease or solely an IL-6 disease. So that's attacking this disease piecemeal. Why don't we just add a monoclonal antibody to IL-8 and IL-1 beta and GM-CSF? I mean, you can't fight a storm with one target. And that's what's so impressive about leronlimab is not only does it bring levels of IL-6 back down to normal by 14 to 21 days from sky-high levels in some patients, but like I said, it also restores immune homeostasis. It also brings down TNF alpha. It brings down GM-CSF when it's present. So it's got a much broader treatment and much broader effect from the cytokine storm than just one of the many cytokines that are part of the storm.
So then one question also, Bruce, is can you compare leronlimab to Gilead remdesivir? Can you please do that? And then perhaps Jay will also elaborate on that, but go ahead, Bruce, first.
Yeah, as Jay said, remdesivir is a antiviral, and it's a relatively non-specific antiviral, meaning it wasn't designed specifically for COVID. But this is not a viral disease at a certain point. It's a very fascinating disease from a pathology standpoint because it may start as a viral disease and may remain a viral disease and very mild in some patients. But in many of the patients, you start getting the immunologic abnormalities, and it's the immunologic abnormalities that are causing the morbidity and mortality. So, you cannot compare the two. An immunologic modulator that both enhances the immune system and quiets the cytokine storm, and compare that to something that, if it did work, would only decrease replication of the virus. It's apples and oranges, and the fact is this is an orange disease or an immunologic disease causing all the morbidity and mortality.
Jay, do you have anything to add to that, or?
As Bruce said, the virus makes you sick, but it's your immune system that's killing people. When you look at the virologic curves of the illness, the virus replication happens early. That's why people are most infectious before they're symptomatic. But their symptoms correspond with an immune system that's kicking in to bring down viral levels in all but a few patients. There are some patients who clearly have prolonged viral replication who probably would benefit from an antiviral drug. And certainly one could imagine a combination of an immunomodulator and an antiviral. But if you had to just pick one, the virus is done doing its thing pretty early in the disease. It leaves behind an injury to the lung, and it's the immune response to that injury that is driving clinical illness and mortality. So you can't really compare remdesivir and leronlimab because, as Bruce said, they're completely different concepts.
Thank you. So the next question is, they want to know if we have gone to Dr. Fauci or not, if we have data from Novant Health, and if big pharmas are coming. So let me just sum up a couple of things. First of all, there is rules and regulation in the United States of America. Thank God for that. Those rules and regulation means we go through regulatory agency, and as soon as you go there, people can't just jump up and down, say, oh my God, they got a couple of patients. Okay, they cannot do that. They won't do that. Thank God they won't do that. In regards to getting it to somebody like Dr. Fauci, he's already very, very busy with a lot of things going on. We already know what we could do. We need to finish our 75 patients, and we need to continuously allow those patients who want emergency IND to be able to be involved. we got to do our thing, and we got to remember that there's 160 companies think they have something is going to work. We believe our data is strong. We believe the science is solid behind it. But again, we also have to go through the right path, and nobody's stopping us. FDA has opened the door for us. They said, here's your phase 2. You want to do a phase 2? Here it is. You want to do a phase 3 in severe population? Here it is. You want to do emergency IND? Have anybody call, and we'll let them have leronlimab. So nothing is closed here because of some kind of conspiracy. Those are all wrong. So I want to make sure we put an end to that for everybody. Let's go to the next question. Is why do not do it? They're asking, why can't we just do a testimony of the patients? Well, we did one. We are about to do one, but I'm going to ask Dr. Patterson to talk about one patient that's close to him. And Bruce, do you feel comfortable talking about that patient?
Yes, I mean, we've heard from the one patient coming out of UCLA. I think there's another patient, which is a truly remarkable story, who is on ECMO, which is essentially a cardiac lung bypass, which they use in life support situations. Within 24 hours, she came off of ECMO, and she's now down to about 20% on the ventilator and breathing normally at times in the absence of a ventilator, so-called weaning off of the ventilator. But we couldn't be happier that this patient has gone off heart-lung bypass and is now breathing on her own for a majority of the time. And soon we'll probably be hearing from her.
Great, thank you. The next question says, have you tried to get funding via BARDA or CARE Act? What is the status of any? Okay, so we will talk about any of the collaboration that's going on once we have something solid. Dr. Bruce Patterson is working, helping us, and everybody's in Amarex is working to do what we have to do to talk to other government agencies. But again, we're at the very beginning. We got 30 patients injected, perhaps in emergency IND, about 27, 28, I guess that's the final number. We have 30 some EIND approved from FDA. Let's give it, a few weeks. I know everybody would like to see things happen in 24 hours, but right now we are already doing things that has never been happening in this speed. So once we get the result of the 75 patients, I think that will change everything. And also next week with the United Kingdom, I'm really excited to see what happens with that, because we'll see what they want to do with our data, if they're going to give us a special approval or not. What delay effect will the COVID-19 crisis have on clinical trials? Is CYDY asking for grants? Okay, so the delays are on clinical trials, and we won't be able to get blood samples, as Dr. Lalezari explained. Other than that, the trials are going forward. There are delays always when they have to come to the hospital, but our product is self-injected at home. We can't get new patients perhaps, but we are working on that also. Next question. Do we know yet if coronavirus is causing subacute chronic immunodeficiency in some cases? Bruce, would you like?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think we were the first to report that several months ago, that it was astounding how low these special lymphocytes were, the CD8 T cells in these patients. They were at levels that demonstrated enormous immunosuppression. So that is definitely a part of COVID as we're looking at more and more patients across the spectrum. And the fact that leronlimab reverses that over 3 days and almost fully by 7 days is one of the most remarkable things about the drug.
Well, thank you for that. And there's a question that a lot of people ask us: have any of the 840 patients we have got coronavirus? And if they haven't, perhaps leronlimab is working. So I have to make sure everybody understands. Some of these patients were injected 15 years ago. They're no longer in the trial. When you say 840 patients, 70 patients were enrolled in 2000. So we don't have whatever patients are left on our trial, which is not, it's probably about 100. They have not reported coronavirus. If they do, we get serious adverse event, and then we know. But so far we don't. But we can't conclude anything from that. That's just not possible. Okay, then perhaps how does our FDA approval timeline look compared to other companies treating coronavirus? Well, we have 75 patients. As we said, if we're able to do what Amarex thinks we can do, which is 3 weeks of enrollment, 2 weeks of last patient results, then another week to get the results. So we're talking about a couple of months is a best case scenario that we have, and we believe we might be able to meet that. So the next question is, how does leronlimab compare to remdesivir? I think we answered that question. Let's talk about another question. Discuss the stage of drug manufacturing broken down by whom, how much by each. Dr. Patterson, based on your knowledge, what differentiates leronlimab versus other market approaches? So Dr. Patterson talked about that. And Bruce, do you want to say anything else about the difference between us and everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to reiterate the fact that, you know, all these other approaches are piecemeal. They're targeting one part of the cytokine storm, or they're targeting the virus, or they're targeting some of the growth factors that may or may not be upregulated. And the fact is, you know, it's piecemeal. It's just part of a very complicated disease. And again, I'll go back and say that the most remarkable thing about leronlimab is it's correcting a lot of the deficiencies across the spectrum of disease, and we're not attacking this piecemeal. So, for instance, you know, interleukin-6 is going down dramatically with leronlimab at the same time as increasing the CD8 T cells. I mean, it's truly unbelievable, but it's a testament to the mechanism of action that we defined a couple months ago now, and it's now being played out and supported by clinical evidence.
Jay, do you like to add anything to that?
Well, I think a lot of this will become more clear when data is in the public domain. But yeah, the rest of it is going after one part of the puzzle or another. But the God in the universe smiled on cytidine, and everyone will understand that in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. So let's talk about the next couple of more questions, and then we go to live questions. Aside from leronlimab ability to successfully treat COVID-19, what is your biggest challenge with bringing it to the market? The biggest challenge is we always have to be careful about being able to hit our primary endpoint. We already hit our primary endpoint with HIV. So the biggest question for everybody is, are we really going to file BLA? Just for everybody's information, I have made it very clear to all of our departments that the BLA needs to be filed next week. We have all the information that we needed. They're all being put together, and next week I'm hoping to be filing the BLA. If there is something goes wrong the last minute, again, we will let everybody know. But this is a very, very difficult time with coronavirus, and then being able to get everything we need to get. Next question, aside from leronlimab, by the time the FDA approves leronlimab, will there still be a need for patients to receive therapeutics? Well, first, let's pray to God that there will not be any coronavirus very soon, no matter who fixes that. But the way it's going right now, unfortunately, there are reports that this problem will not be resolved till perhaps 2022. That's the Bruce, would you like to add to that, or Jay? Bruce, go first.
Yes, absolutely. There's other viral infections, most notably influenza, that happens every single year that also has a cytokine storm in its severe cases. So it's absolutely possible and probable, I would say, that we would be looking at leronlimab for influenza as well. And we do have, you know, a good antiviral there. So the combination of an antiviral and leronlimab in severe cases of influenza is very, very exciting. So, you know, what we've learned through COVID is going to be incredibly beneficial for CytoDyn going forward in terms of additional indications and because of the broad effects that we see on the immune system.
Jay, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have to worry about COVID-19 going anywhere. There's no chance that this pandemic is ending within 12 to 18 months until there's a vaccine. And if societies want to open between now and then, they're going to need a way to treat people so that the mortality rates are not 5 or 10%. And until we have that treatment, I don't see any way to come out of lockdown. But as I've said, I do think CytoDyn has that treatment, and that it'll be a key piece to societies opening around the world. So if we could just hold on for 2 or 3 months, I think that process is going to start playing out.
Okay, so the last question I'm going to read from here is about manufacturing. So Dr. J. Lalezari is very adamant for our manufacturing to go forward much faster than it has. So thanks to him helping us on some of those. We now have got discussions with Samsung, and Samsung agreed to deliver to us this year 1.2 million vials. We have 40,000 vials, 30,000 is ready to go, 10,000 is being worked on with Fujifilm Diosynth. We do have AGC agreeing to do 4 runs of this product, which will be available a few months from now. But if we are able to go forward, the treatment is 2 weeks, so we need 2 doses per patient, perhaps for mild and moderate. And that would go a long way if we get 1.2 million. And Samsung CEO Dr. Kim also said if you need a lot more product, we can make as much as you want without any limit almost. I know there is a limit, but there is, because they have a 180,000 liter run, and they could produce 1 to 2 to 3 million vials a month if we want to. So that's the kind of setup Dr. Nitya Ray, which I cannot thank him enough, set this up 1.5 years ago. And despite the fight that we had to do, Dr. Ray and I, Dr. Scott Kelly, our chairman of the board, backed us up big time. And that process started at that time, which was a very difficult thing to do with the mentality of other people at the time. But thank God we're there. We have our manufacturing in a good shape. So with that, Jack, would you like to see if anybody wants to ask any live question?
Yeah, Nader, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So you pretty much answered. We had like 300 questions that came in. Okay, so we have Gray is asking, what's the
4
full?
to 5 more minutes of questioning, and let Dr. Bruce Patterson and Jay Lalezari go back to work, and I do too.
Perfect. Yeah, because we have hundreds of questions. Okay, so Gray is asking, what's the full game plan schedule for next week as you still observe these trials?
What is the game plan for next week as we absorb the trial? What does that mean? Jack, can you explain?
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay, let's go to the next one.
Yes,
so Steven's asking regarding the EIND compassionate usage in New York and other locations, has there been 100% recovery so far of the patients that were on ventilators?
Absolutely not. You're asking for the severest of the severest patient, especially at the beginning, for us to do miracle. Dr. Patterson, could you explain a little bit about those 10 patients at the first where we got the severest of severe patients?
Yeah, now categorized as critical patients. I mean, every single one of these patients had some degree of renal failure. Many required dialysis for their renal failure. I mean, these were the worst of the worst cases, and we had success treating them. So we'll leave it at that. But I was amazed that we were able to pull some of these patients out from a very bad situation with multi-organ system failure.
And to credit the FDA big time on this, because a lot of people are saying FDA is not giving you approval, why don't you go forward right now? It's not right to say that, because FDA allowed those emergency INDs, and when they saw that there is something there, they expedited our phase 2 immediately, thanks to Dr. J. Lalezari also, who was very much adamant that we need to move quickly on this trial. We were able to expedite. Jay, would you like to say anything about that, or?
You know, when patients are in the critical phase, we've seen reports from around the world of 90% mortality. We can't share, I guess, yet the results in New York, other than to say we did a lot better than that. But as Drew said, that's a very difficult situation. The drug is not meant to be given to patients in critical condition. When this drug is launched, and it will be launched, it needs to be given in patients with anything more than mild shortness of breath. When they're on the cusp of cytokine storm, when they're on the cusp of severe immune suppression, but before those things start. And in my view, it's even possible that some patients might be able to get away with a single dose in that setting. But for right now, it's 2 doses. And there are some patients also who may end up needing 3 doses. So there's a lot to be learned here.
Thank you. Jack, a couple of more questions, and then let's go ahead and conclude.
Okay, so this is a question for Dr. Patterson. So Philip is asking, viral disease typically results in thrombocytopenia. Is that pronouncing that correctly?
Thrombocytopenia.
Okay, that's it. Without measuring viral load, a reversal in thrombocytopenia would provide indirect evidence that the viral load has decreased. Can Dr. Patterson comment on platelet counts following treatment?
It's a thought. We aren't looking at platelet counts per se. We have some platelet markers in our cytokine panel. But most importantly, right now, we're actually working on a plasma viral load assay. And I'm not as convinced that leronlimab isn't capable of also bringing down viral load because of its ability to inhibit T regulatory cells, which turn off the immune response. So I think by enhancing the immune response, we may also see viral load decreases in these patients just with one drug. So I think the best answer is we're actually working on a plasma-based viral load assay so that we don't have to do the nasopharyngeal swabs, which have a lot of variability.
Okay, next question is from Jeff. He's asking, Gilead is said to be acquiring a stake in Arcus Biosciences, which is an HIV cancer therapeutics company. Why would Gilead not engage in Cytodyne since the drug is superior over the Arcus HIV drug? And has Gilead approached Cytodyne regarding the above?
So as I said before, we don't talk about any discussion that might be going on, but if you have any question for Gilead, you guys have to ask Gilead because I don't make any rules for Gilead. I barely make some rules for Cytodyne. So in regards to Gilead, I'm sorry, but I can't answer. So with that, let's, Jack, let's have the last question, please.
Okay, yeah, we get a lot of same questions. Okay, so Elaine's asking, when will Bruce's paper be published?
You know, it's. I think we're very excited that by the end of next week, we'll have all the data accumulated. We're actively writing right now, and I'll probably be writing a lot over the weekend with Jay and others. And we're very excited, but I think it's going to be, you know, probably two weeks until it gets submitted. And, you know, as we've seen with COVID, papers, I think the turnaround time in the papers ending up in print is relatively short compared to the normal cycle of manuscripts where they don't come out for 6 to 12 months. So I'm hopeful that we can get this out in print within 4 to 6 weeks.
Excellent. All right. So Jack, with that, would you like me to finish it up with a comment about everything summarized?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank Dr. Patterson, Dr. Lalezari for being kind enough to be on this call, and for all the shareholders and the people on the call. Thank you. We do have, again, our cancer program going forward. Our basket trial got the first patient injected for 22 different solid tumor cancer. Our breakthrough designation preliminary hearing the preliminary meeting. We are waiting for a date. In regards to BLA, as I said, I'm hoping to get this done by next week. In regards to our coronavirus, we hope to finish the trial for phase 2 randomized in 2 to 3 weeks, and the emergency IND, as the results comes out, whatever it is, whatever we can talk about based upon the hospitals, we will do that. And in regards to our severe population, we have 3 patients enrolled, and we will continue to update everybody about the progress. So thank you for being here. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.